I love this question. And so I'm going to share something that I haven't really shared too much before. And that is a metaphor that got given to me. I think it was in the final year that I recovered from my eating disorder. And, the first thing I want to say is I see you if you're relating to anything that I'm sharing. And I know it can feel very frustrating, but it ultimately starts with a choice that you make to make a change. And I want you to think about it like climbing a mountain. The moment maybe you feel like you're right at the bottom of the mountain, you're looking up at it and going, oh my goodness, it's been years, decades of self-abusive thoughts and behaviors. How do I even start? And the trick is to just put one foot in front of the other and just start. Just make that choice to climb, to start going.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living the Next Chapter. I have pens, markers, highlighters in my hands. I'm excited. I've been doing my homework. I have a great guest today from the City of Angels. We have today, Lizzy Cangro is with us today, a great coach, an author, all around good person. And what else did you have me wanting to say? A super nice, kind person who's very smart and talented. You gave me the whole list to say, Lizzy. I hope I covered them all.
It's in the post.
Yes, very good. Lizzy Cangro, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, David. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am wonderful. Good. Sunny California is living up to its title.
Oh, it is indeed. Yes. And as we were saying before, we went live, as an English person, it's a big selling point. I'm not going to lie. So I very much appreciate the warm weather and also the warm welcome. So thank you so much for having me.
Nice segue. That was well done. Teed up. Perfect. Okay. I don't want to waste any time. Not that we would ever waste time on a podcast, but there's too much to talk about in this amount of time. So I want to give you as much time as possible to let's talk about this. Now, you have a book called Reclaim the Rebel.
I do.
And when did the book come out?
It was released in December last year. So it's fairly recent. Excellent.
And so far, you're loving the author life?
I do. I love it. The best thing, I'm not going to lie, is getting the feedback, getting the reviews, hearing that it's impacting people in a positive way and people are relating to some of the stories that I share, because it's Reclaim the Rebel is a combination of really powerful, easy tools to help you step into the body that you love, but it's also a suite of personal journeys and very vulnerable moments from both myself and from some of my clients. So it really means a lot when people come to me and say, oh, I really resonated with that story. And then they open up and start sharing about, their experiences. So it really does mean a lot to get that really positive feedback. That is definitely the best part of being an author is the reviews and the feedback that comes with it. So
excellent.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write this book?
Not very long. It took me probably 2 months to write the first draft. And then it took a little bit longer to kind of go through a couple of copy edits, and smooth out some of my grammatical errors. But in all, I started end of February last year, and then, as I say, it was published beginning of December. So it was a fairly quick process.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I loved it.
Great. So is there a book 2 coming that we can spoil or tease?
Yes. So I'm definitely going to write a second book. I was very, very close actually the other week to start the second book. But I got reminded that I was kind of being a little bit of a magpie and just going for sort of shiny object syndrome, and to kind of focus a little bit more on what I was doing
Mhm.
at the present time. So it is going to come, but it's going to be maybe another year or so before I release that book
Okay.
baby into the world.
So will you please put us on your calendar when that book comes out?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
You
Yes,
promise?
sure. I promise.
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
you can hold me to that.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So in your book, you introduce us to somebody that I've never met personally. And I've heard you talk on other podcasts about this person, but I don't feel like I really know this person. So I would love for you to introduce this person to us and give us a little bit more details about this person. And you refer to this person in your book as the inner mean girl. Can you describe this person to us? I'd like to know more about this person that surfaces in your book.
Yeah. Well, I would love to introduce you to, I'm not going to say I love to introduce you to her because she's a pretty sucky person, but I'm going to introduce you to the inner mean girl. Now, the inner mean girl is super judgmental. She likes to shame you for how you look, how you act, and generally who you are as a person. She sometimes can get very loud. For some women and men, she can be on repeat on a daily basis. For others, maybe she gets vocal in certain situations. Maybe it's when you look in front of the mirror. Maybe it's when you try on your old pair of jeans. Maybe it's when you're going clothes shopping. Maybe it's after you've had that slice of cake after dinner. But she surfaces at any given moment and can scream at you and kind of say all of these mean things about your body, about how you are as a partner, as a colleague, as a author.
Mm.
And essentially, she keeps us stuck in the same habit loops, in the same thought patterns, and generally keeps life actually fairly predictable. So our inner mean girl likes to actually keep us safe. And it may not feel like it at the time, but this inner mean girl is doing what she's supposed to do, what our brains are supposed to do, and that is to keep us safe. And what does safe mean? It means predictable. Our brains don't like change. And so essentially, what our inner mean girl is doing is just reinforcing our own beliefs about ourselves. And sometimes those beliefs are very, very nasty. And, we set high expectations. We, say things that we would never dream of saying to other people, to ourselves. And that's all because it's just reinforcing that predictable belief that we have about really our own low self-worth. So inner mean girl, she can take any form and say any nasty thing that you can think of, but essentially she's part of our brain that keeps us stuck.
So where does the inner mean girl get her strength and her power from?
That's a great question. 2 places. She gets her strength and her power originally from our environment. And by environment, I mean where we grew up, who we grew up with, and the things that we were told, where we grew up and who we grew up with. And these thoughts and beliefs get embedded into our subconscious belief system, i.e. our inner mean girl system, and kind of get stuck there. So it becomes part of what we believe. And that's from our environment. And as we get older, she gets strengthened by this belief system playing on repeat. And that's our own doing, right? So first of all, she gets built up through the things that we get told when we're kids. And then when we're adults and teenagers, she just gets reinforced by this own loop that we have in our heads.
So looking back, when was the first time you met her personally?
Oh, I think the first time I met my own inner mean girl was probably in the playground when I was about 7 years old. And one of the girls, I actually share this story in a little bit more detail in Reclaim the Rebel. One of the girls teased me because she thought I looked like one of the teachers. And that's when my own inner mean girl stepped in and said, oh my goodness, you look so old. You have bags under your eyes. You look like this. You should, start researching anti-aging eye creams. And that's what I did. This 7-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that resulted in, by the age of like 10, I was researching and these, I can't remember the name of the actual surgery, but a surgery to remove eye bags, because that environment that I was placed in gave me a message. That message got embedded into my belief system. And then over the course of kind of 3 years, it got played and played and played in my head every time I looked in the mirror that I, looked old and had eye bags. And then that played out in terms of my behaviors. So I think that was the first time that I really met the power of my own inner mean girl and recognized it, because up until the age of about 7 or 8, we don't really have that self-awareness. We have awareness of others, but we don't really have awareness of our own awareness. And so for me, the inner mean girl kind of came out really as soon as she could. She was like straight out the gate. All right, we're going to make your life miserable and say really mean things. And I think there are a lot of kids out there, especially today in the age of social media, that's very common.
So what is the inner mean girl's weapon of choice?
Well, it really depends. For me, it was really the words that I used to say to myself. It's the hurtful things that, again, you would never say to your best friend, your sister, your mom, daughter, whatever. Yeah. But, the strength and the power of those words are enough to make you feel very, very small. So my inner mean girl would call me ugly, old. Some people have an inner mean girl that say you're fat, and use really, really powerful words, but very kind of piercing. But for others, maybe the inner mean girl uses kind of other people's reactions to you. So they pick up on kind of people's vibe when you're around and kind of make you feel insecure because of that. So she kind of operates in very different ways, but they're all designed to kind of keep you really shaming on yourself and shoulding on yourself.
That's interesting. Okay, so one more thought about the inner mean girl. When was the last time you spoke to her?
Probably last week. So this is the point that I want to make. And if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, it's this, is that the inner mean girl never goes away. You just get better at silencing her. So we're all human, and we all have brains that are, trying to keep us safe. They're actually, the inner mean girl is kind of doing her job, but it doesn't always align to loving ourselves or feeling good. And so the trick is to, when she comes up, is to move through that inner mean girl moment. So for me, last week, I had a moment where I was about to invest in a program to help my personal growth so that I could help others with their personal growth. But my inner mean girl came up and said, no, you can't afford that. That's really selfish of you to invest in yourself and to pay that much money. And so I needed to have a conversation with myself around the purpose of why I was doing this, and remind myself that actually it was not a selfish thing to do, and that I am valuable. One tip that I have for anybody struggling with their own inner mean girl is, I don't know if this is going to be, but I have a post-it note above my desk that says, I am valuable. And so I always use that affirmation whenever my inner mean girl pops up, to affirm my own self-worth. And so I had that whole conversation with her around investing in myself. And yeah,
Lizzy,
I actually bought the program.
See, you did it. You did it. Right?
I did it. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that's very interesting to me, is to have you unpack that for me so that I have a better understanding of who this is and how she shows up and how often she shows up. That's quite unique that you have that as kind of a part of your book. So in your book, you also talk about 12 rebellious acts to transform your life. So can you share maybe one or two of these rebellious acts that will have this kind of impact on us?
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. So a rebellious act is essentially a tool to help you move through some of these blocks to actually feeling good in your body, having the body that you want and having ultimately the life that you want. So one of the rebellious acts actually relates to your inner mean girl, and that is rewriting your story. That's rebellious act number 2. And the reason why it's rebellious act number 2 is because it's so powerful. So what I mean by rewrite your story is, okay, so you notice your inner mean girl is screaming at you. What you don't want to do is ignore her, because she's like a toddler and she'll scream louder. So be aware of her. Say, okay, I acknowledge you, inner mean girl. And then you have the opportunity to rewrite her story or rewrite your story, because she is a part of you, right? So for me, in going back to the example that I had last week, my story, my inner mean girl was trying to tell me was, you're selfish for doing this. And so I could have gone with that story and been like, oh, yeah, I'm a terrible person for wanting to invest in myself. But no, I didn't go down that road. I started to. I chose to rewrite my story instead. And so my story became, this is actually an investment in me helping other people. And I am just a vessel for that. So in denying myself this, I'm also denying the thousands of other people who I'm going to help in the future. And do you see how powerful that shift in just words? It's words. It's just words. But the whole energy behind that changes from you're a terrible person, that feels so heavy, to actually you're doing this from a very heart-centered place. And it kind of provides sort of more of the flow into love for yourself and love for other people. And so that felt better to me. And so that is the power of rewriting your story, is notice when the inner mean girl story comes up and then shift it to something that feels, you can believe it. It wasn't something that I kind of like made up and I couldn't tangibly, believe and go with. That's not what it's about. It's not about, false positivity. It's just shifting your words to make them feel more aligned to how you want to feel. So in another example, if a woman is stood in front of the mirror saying, oh my gosh, my stretch marks are so ugly, you can rewrite that to my body is so incredible for growing a small human in it. And that is not saying, oh my goodness, I love my stretch marks, and trying to make yourself believe it. It's actually providing a narrative around how incredible our bodies are and putting energy towards loving it. So that's rewriting your story.
So would that be, that's mindset?
That's mindset.
That's mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you focus on, right? What captivates your mind and where your mind is set on is what your mind focuses on. Yeah. So you focus on the negative or the positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And really what I found in my years of being a nutritionist and wellness coach, until we change our mindset, nothing else changes. So most people come to me as one-to-one clients wanting to change their body in some way. They want to lose weight, they want to tone up, or maybe they just want to have more energy. but it all comes down to they've gone through maybe, some people it's tens of different diets and nothing else has worked, at least in the long term. And that's because these diets and programs have not addressed that fundamental thing, which is our mindset.
Yeah.
So until we change that, nothing else is going to change, unfortunately. But that's one simple tool that we can use to start to shift our mindset. And the secret sauce is repetition. So we can do this once, but that's not really going to have a big impact. The secret is doing it again and again and again and again, every single time that inner mean girl voice pops up. And it's just like anything, with practice comes competency. So, just keep going, and you're not always going to get it perfect, but it really is very powerful when we go through this process consistently, because then that's when you see the shift.
So there's hope.
There is hope. Oh my goodness. Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, this is something I share in the book, but I had a 10-year eating disorder as a teenager. And years more as self-abusive thoughts after I recovered from the self-abusive behaviors I had towards myself. So if I can shift that and say hand on heart, I love my body, then sure as SHIT, anybody can shift into a place of appreciating themselves.
So somebody listening to this right now, Lizzy, and they're identifying with what you're saying, how can you inspire somebody right now to make the decision to address this inner mean girl and take that step towards not being a victim of all of this struggle? Where do we go? How do we start? Like I'm at the very beginning. How do I start?
I love this question. And so I'm going to share something that I haven't really shared too much before. And that is a metaphor that got given to me. I think it was in the final year that I recovered from my eating disorder. And, the first thing I want to say is I see you if you're relating to anything that I'm sharing. And I know it can feel very frustrating, but it ultimately starts with a choice that you make to make a change. And I want you to think about it like climbing a mountain. The moment maybe you feel like you're right at the bottom of the mountain, you're looking up at it and going, oh my goodness, it's been years, decades of self-abusive thoughts and behaviors. How do I even start? And the trick is to just put one foot in front of the other and just start. Just make that choice to climb, to start going. And what is beautiful about the mountain analogy is that you can go up the mountain as quickly or as slowly as you want and that feels comfortable. You can even stop for a rest break. You can go down it if it feels too uncomfortable. But when you get to the top, the view will look and feel incredible. And by that, I mean how you feel about yourself and how that radiates out into the world and ultimately makes your life just the best it can possibly be. So if you are at, base camp, and you're looking up at that mountain, just remember that analogy. You can go up it. You can go up it quickly. You can go up it slowly. It's not a race, but remember the goal at the top is the most incredible thing that you can ever accomplish for yourself. You're doing it for you. You're not doing it for anyone else. So just make that choice to just start right now.
That's amazing. Okay. So Lizzy, I'm thinking there's people listening to this who haven't put that Post-it note on their desk to show that they're valuable. They haven't done that. They're probably going to do that after this. So that was a good tip. Thank you for that. But maybe there's someone that has been on a coach's website and had that inner mean girl shut her down and say, don't do this. You don't need this. You can't afford this. Right. And so if somebody was reaching out to you as a coach, they hear your podcast episode, they look at your website, but they're nervous. They've never worked with a coach before. Like, I'm afraid it's going to be so expensive. I'm afraid I'm not going to have the discipline to follow through on Lizzy's coaching. I just don't know what it's going to be like to be coached by Lizzy. Can you just kind of alleviate some of that fear to counterbalance what the inner mean girl might be saying at this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's natural to have that fear, and fear is the only thing that stands between you and what you want. And again, just like the inner mean girl, that fear is not going to go away. The only way to address the fear is to actually move through it. So what I say to people, if they are hesitant for whatever reason, it could be time, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, or I don't think I'm worth it. Why should I do this on myself? The whole conversation that we just had around this is selfish. I would say these are all fears rooted in the unknown. And the only way to really address that fear is actually to move through it. So what one of my coaches says is the transformation is in the transaction. So the first thing that you do is actually say yes to yourself and say, yes, I am worthy of this time. I can make time for myself. I am worthy of spending this money on myself, and actually going through it. And then as soon as you go through it, the fear's not there anymore. You go, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. And once you're actually on the other side, you realize, oh, I have the support of a coach who has been there, a coach who understands and who I'm resonating with what she's saying. And having that support really is vital. As I just said, I have a coach. Everybody, I believe, needs a coach for whatever reason that is. And really, the reason why we all need a coach is because we're all growing. Yeah. We all want to reach that next step in terms of our growth. And the way to do that is to have somebody hold you through the process that they've also been through. So that's essentially what I offer my clients. But I can only do that if you make that little bit of a leap of faith and say yes to investing in yourself in terms of time, money, energy. And that, again, that's a choice. So you can choose.
Lizzy, there's so much, I don't even want to end this, but I know you have other things on your calendar too. And, but how do people connect with you, Lizzy? How do people, find the book? How do people find your website? They want to sign up for some coaching. They want to value themselves by spending time with you. How do they do that?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for letting me share. So the best way to connect with me is via Instagram. My Instagram handle is at nutrition by Lizzy, and Lizzy is spelled with a Y. I share so many, free tips and ideas on my Instagram account, and it's a great way to connect with me. And then, as my special gift to your listeners,
yes,
if you head to my website, nutritionbylizzy.com/shop, you'll be able to get a copy of my ebook of Reclaim the Rebel for free when you enter the code REBEL in capital letters at the checkout. So that is my gift to your listeners as my way of just showing up and supporting you. So that's yours.
A book that you can give to the inner mean girl in your life.
Yeah.
Share this with her. Share this podcast with that inner mean girl. And Lizzy is here to help you and walk with you. Lizzy, so great to talk to you. I'm so jealous of California. Oh, but that's okay. Come to Canada sometime and we will have maple syrup, and I will introduce you to a moose.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Okay. Done. Done and done. All right.
Thank you so much.
So again, we want to have you back when the book 2 is ready. Don't forget about us.
I will not. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you and your listeners. So thank you.
Lizzy Cangro, Reclaim the Rebel. This is the person you need to talk to. Thank you so much, Lizzy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hi, guys. This is Dave from Living the Next Chapter, a podcast designed to connect authors and audiences. We're always on the lookout for our next interview. If you're an author a publisher, and you have a book, whether you're just starting, whether you're halfway through writing, or it's all done and you want to tell the world, that's why we're here at Living the Next Chapter. Get in touch with us through livingthenextchapter.com, contact us, and let's set up some time together to discuss your book, to discuss your project, and how we can get you on the show. My name is Dave, and I would love to speak to you. So go to livingthenextchapter.com, and let's get over there together and discuss all the great things that you're up to as an author, as a publisher, and let's grow your audience together. Join us on livingthenextchapter.com for great authors and an audience that's eager to hear about what you're up to as an author and a publisher. Contact us today, and let's get your book out in front of others. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.